Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for another Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show, sometimes the genre film conversation show. John Suntress here. Very happy to welcome director Gary Jones to Word Balloon. Gary is here to promote Escape from Death Block 13, starring Robert Bronzi and a cast of familiar faces. Welcome, Gary. God damn it, I'm going to say Gary. I apologize, buddy. Sorry, man.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Absolutely. I hear you, man. Excellent. Hey, this is a really fun movie.
Cool.
And my God, you can't help but notice. We got to get it right off the bat. Robert Bronzi, this guy, he sure looks familiar. The face is familiar, if you will.
Yeah, I can't place it. He reminds me of somebody, but I'm not quite sure.
Bronze something. Yeah. I don't. Exactly, man. No, I truly, what a find. I know you, did you produce another movie with Robert as well?
Yeah, I did. A good friend of mine, producer Jeff Miller, called me up and said he's got this movie he's doing called Death Kiss. And he wanted to know if I wanted to help out on it and do some effects, but he also wanted me to help produce. And, at first he sent me the picture of Robert and I said, you can't do that. I mean, come on, man. Then about 2 minutes later, I thought about it. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's like the fans will know what it is. They're going to understand it. If people don't like it, they won't watch. But if they just wanted the charm of it, they'll go. So I helped him work on that and helped him produce that. And the movie was successful. And I had been planning to do this. I had this idea about doing a prison escape movie. And it was kind of just gestating. But then when I saw that picture, I was like, wow, because I wanted to do a throwback to the 70s movies and 80s movies I loved, growing up with. And I thought, well, gosh, if he's in it, it instantly, that poster gives you like, wait a minute, what am I watching here? Or what is this? Is this now or is this an older movie? What is this? So Robert instantly gets us that recognition, right? Because he looks like Bronson.
Sure.
But, and of course, I'm a huge Bronson fan. I mean, Mr. Majestic and Breakout and Death Wish. I got to stop. I'll name every one of them.
I'm with you, man. Absolutely.
The Mechanic. I mean, just
Hard Times. Sure.
Hard Times, and
the best.
We could talk all day about that. So I thought, if Robert's in this, it gets me the recognition thing. But it can't just be Bronzy,
Right.
Can't just be the gimmick. There has to be more. Because the audiences will, it's a gimmick. They like the gimmick. But, if we're going to continue it, it's like, okay, So my whole plan was, I told Robert, I said, look, you look obviously like Bronson. It's going to get our fans to go. They're going to do a double take, but at least they're looking. Because today, getting eyeballs on anything, it's like everything is like 2 seconds and people they lose interest, So this attracts and gets the eyeballs on it. Then they take a second look. At least we got them to pay some attention. So, but I told Robert, I said, I want the audience to want to come and see Robert Bronzy Kovacs. You got to be
the character.
You can't just do shtick that Bronzy would do. You can't just, it's not Saturday Night Live. We can't just try to mimic him. It's like, you look like him. That's it. Forget about it. End of story. Now it's you. People don't want to see you do what you do. You just happen to look like this guy. So that was kind of my approach, and so Robert obviously helped us get the eyeballs doing a double take. So it worked,
Absolutely. And I would imagine it helps not only in the domestic market, but the foreign market as well. I mean, it makes them look twice as well. And I would imagine, again, that's got to help sell the movie poster and stuff.
Big time, because Death Kiss did really well in the foreign markets, instantly. And so, that was completely by design. I mean, I knew, when Death Kiss was doing really well, and I thought, I should use him in this. Absolutely. Because, look, the independent movies and genre movies, there's really 2 huge markets, right? There's the foreign and there's domestic. Those are your markets.
Sure.
If you tank in one, you've got a shot in the other one, So either you can do poorly in both, but the chances are you might do good in one and not in the other. You're still somewhat okay. So this was a crossover. I thought, well, certainly is going to work in the foreign markets. And I thought for domestic markets, mainly, I figured that's where we'd have more fans of Bronson that would, we might run into the group of fans that go, you guys are ripping off Bronson. So I knew the challenge was going to be there more, how do we win everybody? So,
sure.
I wanted to put enough people around him and build it up so it wasn't just riding on his look. And I think right off the bat, when you get 10, 15 minutes in, you're like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, he looks like him. My goal was, okay, he looks like him, so forget about it and try to get into the story. Because I could have just had him walk through and do Bronson looks and, all the shtick Bronson, and just mimic every step of the way.
Of course.
I deliberately said, no, Robert, I want Robert Bronzy Kovacs. I want you to be your person, your character is this guy. It's you. You're bringing him to life. Forget about what you look like. So that was kind of a goal, to just use it, forget it, and keep going.
I totally understand. And also you got a great cast. And I mean, God, you got Nick Turturro here as the bad guy. You got Lawrence Hilton Jacobs as one of the inside agents and stuff. And I want to make sure I get her name right. The warden, Debbie Scaletta.
Yep. Great.
As Warden Jack. I mean, no, man, this is a classic, prison escape grindhouse movie. A lot of action, a lot of very bombastic action and stuff. And I think you deliver, man. I mean, again, there is, as and this is one of the great things I love about genre films, whether it's horror or Western or whatever, there's that great subculture of just people that like punch in the gut action films.
Yeah.
And truly, man, I'm so glad. I mean, it's certainly the poster intrigued me, but once I watched the movie, I'm like, oh, this is great. It's a lot of fun, man. You manage a lot on a small budget, I would imagine. But no, I think it's very effective. And again, I've got a huge group of friends, a lot of comic book cartoonists that love this genre.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you ever hear of this guy Bronzy? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm like, well, the new movie, man. I'm talking to the director. So They're like, oh, that's great, man. So is it out now or is it out in a week or so?
Yeah, no, it's out now. We did a theatrical run in October. We actually got one more theatrical screening going on in Wisconsin, but we're out now on VOD. People can get it. They can look in their cable stations. It's on DirecTV, On Demand, Spectrum. It's on Amazon right now. You can pay and watch it on Amazon, Vudu. We're going to be on YouTube, all the pay-per-view stuff.
Sure. The pay streams. Absolutely.
Google Play and iTunes are coming up soon. So yeah, it's out there pretty much going, the VOD market first. That's our big push. DVDs will be out at the end of the month. It'll be in Walmart. It's still physical DVDs going out, and a lot of the online stores, Best Buy and all these, Target, they'll all have it online, and online on Amazon also. So the DVDs will go out at the end of the month. But yeah, we're doing the video on demand run right now, and it just started last Tuesday, so we're about a week in.
That's great.
So it's great, and yeah, I'm glad you brought up the comic book thing, because I wanted to do a throwback to the movies I grew up loving, right? Those 70s movies. And, back then, Hollywood really didn't tackle comic books. They was sort of like, is the poor cousin. Just like science fiction was sort of the poor cousin for a while, until after Forbidden Planet, and then, 2001, and all of a sudden they embrace it. Well, of course, now the biggest movies are the comic book movies, right? All the Marvel movies. And, it's great because you have all the fans, all the comic book fans finally got to see those movies done with a budget, with a real Hollywood budget. And that's what Hollywood's making, right? So when I decided to do this as a kind of my throwback to the 70s, I really started out down the road with it, being more serious and a direct, real out of the 70s, 80s movie. And it was going to have action and stuff. But as I was going through it, I went, the audiences today, there's definitely want to capture all the people that love those movies. But there's such a huge audience for the comic book movies. I went, I need to turn the page here. I need to start out a certain way, but then when the proverbial stuff hits the fan, I need 40 minutes, 45, 46 minutes of a roller coaster. And I said, you know what? The audiences today, they love the comic book movies where it's just the impossible action happens. And I thought, in the 70s, you couldn't really get away with a guy running out, like shooting everybody and, dodging bullets. He had to had to hide behind a wall or something.
Sure.
So, my thought is I can get away with that if I led the audience for about an hour down this path, and then I can make that shift, and I could try to get the movie to be satisfied for everybody. So I'm glad, I'm talking with you today, the word balloon, the comic book. Absolutely. It's a movie for people that love all those great 70s action movies and just the simple, cool action movies, Code of Honor,
sure,
Handshake Deal, but also the comic book fans that want that over the top where it just kind of takes off. And we certainly kind of go there a little bit or a lot, depending on what you like. And I like to mix it up and give practical effects,
yes,
a little bit of gore, a little bit of blood to the fans, the 80s, 70s, late 80s.
Sure.
And the nonstop action. And that's kind of what I try to do with it. Try to deliver that.
I think you deliver, Gary. Absolutely. And coming from TV, and I noticed among your television credits, some Xena Warrior Princess.
Yep.
So yeah, obviously I would think back then you were doing a lot of practical effects, and that obviously, helped you in as far as moving on subsequently to films. And no, it's great to see. I think as much as I love Marvel movies and stuff, I do worry sometimes that a lot of the CGI effects almost desensitize us to really fun, like practical effects. Or as I'm sure you're a fan, remember the Stuntman?
Oh yeah,
great Richard Rider movie.
Yeah. I actually worked on. He did a documentary, the making of, and a good buddy of mine called and said, "Hey, you want to come out and help out on this?"
Wow,
it was, and then when he told me what it was, I'm like, I'm there.
Richard Rush, absolutely, man. Yeah,
with Richard and the guys, we went around to locations and shot. Richard told us all the stories. Of course, I'm a director. I'm like, I got to meet Richard. But
that's
awesome. Stuntman's awesome.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's terrific. What other filmmakers of the genre film era, back in the 70s and stuff, who are your guys? Who were the guys that you studied?
Well, when I was growing up, obviously I started watching, like everybody, you watch King Kong and Jack Arnold, all the sci-fi movies from the 50s. Ray Harryhausen, the stop motion god, his movies, I just they knocked me out. I wanted to do stop motion, I wanted to draw animation for Disney, I wanted to make giant monster movies. I wanted to do, Bridge on the River Kwai and action movies, David Lean movies. So, all of those things kind of were rolling up. But as I was coming up through the 70s, and really, I always thought the directors were old guys with a pipe, Of course, I'm an old guy with a cigar now, so I guess it's true. But But then I saw like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think Tobe Hooper was like 30 at the time. And then Jaws, Spielberg was 27. And I thought, wow, you can do those things, So growing up through the 70s, of course, I'm a huge fan of like Robert Aldrich, Don Siegel, Tobe Hooper, Steven Spielberg. James Cameron was a big influence because he came out of effects and went into directing. And I was trying to shift my career that way too. So it was great, growing up and seeing these things. And then I was lucky enough in the early 90s, mid 90s to work at a company where I was doing a movie called Spiders, with giant spiders. And Tobe Hooper was directing a movie called Crocodile, and we had offices next to each other. And we'd go out in the back and smoke cigars. And I finally got to talk to him about Chainsaw. And he told me the making of Chainsaw and all his stories in Hollywood and stuff. So that was just great. I mean, you grow up watching something that's just so iconic, and it wanted me to make movies. And then I actually got to sit with him and talk to him about it. And so, I mean, that was pretty special, And then, of course, because I was doing practical effects, I got on the Evil Dead movies. And so with Sam Raimi and those guys. And so all of a sudden now, so I sort of cut my teeth coming up through effects with those guys. And then when I moved into the director's chair, then I meet Tobe Hooper. And, then I got to go to the Directors Guild and meet Robert Wise and, just all these guys, man. And, and they made these classic movies. And the one thing that struck me was, you envision these people as immortal or like untouchable. Every one of them is as personable as like we're talking right now.
That's fantastic.
And what it did is it really grounded me to like, okay, what's important? It's like, chase the dream, chase the Academy Award, the Miramax. No, it's like entertain the audience, find a voice and entertain the audience, And so yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. I'm the hardest part for me over the years is just trying to find my own voice and do it my way and go, oh, well, that's what Spielberg would do. That's the shot I'll do. It's like, well, that doesn't quite fit, that's not your style, So it's just really kind of honing in on a style, but then also going back and doing the movies I want to make. And on my terms, it's like, I'm always waiting for the phone to ring, right? Hey, would you like to direct this movie? It only pays $500,000 or something, or it's $20 million budget. Well, that phone's not ringing so much, right? So, my attitude is like, to hell with it. I'm just going to make my movies, and if I do something that, and I try to change them up. So it's like, hey, if I've seen it before or, the audience is going to expect this, I'll go left instead of right,
Okay.
I try to get it so that I'm entertained because we've seen so much and I'm like, okay, they're going to expect this. I'm going to need something here. I'm going to need this here. I got to satisfy them somehow, or I got to put a twist, or I got to do something today that's relevant today and something from the past that some people will get, So I get to have fun with that, but it's really about, can I be entertained? Because if I'm not entertained, man, and I'm not. First off, I'm not doing the job right, and if I'm not entertained, I'm not giving 200%. So that's kind of like the goal is keep making stuff, and it doesn't matter like if the budget is $10 or 10 million. The idea is like, you don't get to put a label on your movie. I mean, the audiences already can label it, right? They know, oh, it's not a Warner Brothers release, right? It's not a Marvel. Okay, so they didn't have 200 million, right? It's an independent, low budget movie. They probably didn't have 200 million. You don't get a pass for being low budget because people put their hard-earned money down. If they put $10 down and watch this, or $7 and $7 to watch or $10 to watch a Marvel movie, they need to be entertained. Yeah. So you have to, as a filmmaker, you've got to pull it out somehow, and you've got to give them something that's going to entertain them. And if you can surprise them along the way where they didn't see it coming and give them enough cool things, then you get that residual effect that when it's over with, they'll tell someone to watch it, which is vitally important for an independent film. It's all word of mouth,
Well, I'm happy to help in that department, man. And I was wondering too, sometimes, and I've heard Orson Welles say this, and I know this, I'm a longtime radio broadcaster, and I've made commercials and short audio comedy sketches and dramas and stuff. And every now and then you have what Orson Welles would call a happy accident, that sometimes being confined by a budget or circumstances, something happens that you didn't expect, and great, let's use it. You know, so yeah, anything without spoiling the movie that you can acknowledge for happy accidents.
I got a couple that would really spoil it if people haven't seen it yet, but well, this probably won't spoil it. It goes to story. You know, I wrote the script, and people who know, they know who's in the movie now, right? They know it's Lawrence Hilton Jacobs in the movie. So I wrote the script, and I had all the parts cast, you know, or I was looking to cast the parts. And I had another actor I was talking to, and I was kind of going back and forth. And then one of the managers I was talking to said, well, hey, you know, I represent Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. And I'm like, you think he'd be interested? Because immediately I'm going, his first movie was Death Wish. Me and my buddies ran to that movie to see Charles Bronson, but we went to see Boom Boom Washington.
Freddie Boom Boom Washington, absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, and he was in Cooley High. I mean, just tons of movies.
Yes.
So I thought instantly, you know, the director's going, oh boy, his first movie is Death Wish. Bronson shoots him in the park. He's a thug. I'm like, I know what I can do in this movie. I need to do this little bit in this movie, but it can't just be out of nowhere. It has to be relevant to the story. So as soon as I thought I could get him, and then we sent the script, and I talked to him on the phone, and we jived, and he had some ideas, and I'm like, dude, I'm open. This is the script. Let's embellish it. Let's take out what doesn't work. You know, these are the story points we got to get across. And I said, you know, I want you to bring a character. You bring Langley here. You know, he's your guy. So once he said yes, I went, all right. And you've seen the movie. So I knew I could get to do a little thing in there that would harken back to the fans, you know. It just wanted to happen. And so that was one of those like happy accidents. And then, you know, one of the other things is, you know, without giving too much away, there's, you know, a particular prop in the movie. You know, there's a hammer in the movie.
Yes, indeed.
And so when I met Robert I met him at the Texas Frightmare Film Festival where we were screening Death Kiss. And I was talking to him about being in this movie. And I had written this thing, and I had the guy getting a hammer. You know, I had the aspects of it in it. And he goes, oh, that's interesting. He goes, you know, Kovacs means blacksmith in Hungary. I'm like, really? And then he rolls his arm up, and he's got a hammer tattoo on his arm. And then I went, wow, okay. Because I had it in the film for a particular bit of business. But then I went, oh, shoot. This will even make it better.
Sure.
There's a backstory here, you know? And so I went back, and I went up to the room but you know, I had a couple of drinks. So I'm like, oh boy, I got to write this down quick, you know? Next day I got up and rewrote it, right? So I could read it. But so those kind of things happen, and they influence the film. And I think in a good way, because I came at it from a story point of view and character. And it just reinforced that prop, because I knew how that prop was going to play at the beginning. And I knew what I wanted to do at the end, right? But what I didn't have was the glue. And I had the glue, you know? So it wrote like 10 minutes. I wrote a scene. And I used it, you know, I used aspects of that. And so, again, it's just those things that it just sort of came together. I mean, I live not too far from this prison, which is called the Ohio State Reformatory. I drive by it a lot. Well, It's the Shawshank prison. It's where they shot the Shawshank.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm driving by that going, how come I'm not doing a movie there? I got to do a movie there. And I went, Robert, you know, I met, you know, Robert Kovacs, you know, I was doing the Death Kiss thing. And I'm like, Robert Kovacs. I went, Charles Bronson in Breakout. I got to do a prison escape movie there. Robert's in it. We're there. You know, I deliberately tried to not look at Breakout or anything. I didn't want it to be like a ripoff, but I said, you know what? It works. And then I met Chris Hahn, who's a, you know, ex-wrestler, and the package was coming together. It was almost like these things were floating around there. And all I had to do was put the glasses on and see them. And they were like, bloop, bloop, bloop. You know, they just kind of came together.
Absolutely, man. No, Chris Hahn is his wingman in the movie, and like his buddy, and they're breaking out together. I honestly, man, I thought it was terrific. Also, couldn't help but notice that Chris's name is Bunyan.
Yes.
And of course, another great movie that you did, Axe Giant, The Wrath of Paul Bunyan, from a couple of years ago.
Right.
So that's a lot of fun. There's another fun movie in your past.
Yeah, we had some fun because when I was writing his part for the movie, I knew I was writing the part for him. I didn't really have his name, the character. Usually I come up with character names first, I come up with a good character name I like, okay, references.
That's memorable. Yeah.
And I just put down, I'm just going to call him Bunyan, and I kept writing. And I went, no, he should be Bunyan, And I wrote it, and of course I'm thinking I knew Chris from that movie, and I knew his persona as an ex-wrestler, and I'm like, that's the character. So that character was written for Chris Hahn, and it's Chris Hahn's wrestling persona. So it wrote easy, and of course where I didn't have some of the banter down, I go, Chris, this guy takes his shirt off, he comes toward you, you got to say something. Oh, $1 million body, it's there, right? So I have the different things going on, and I just put, Bunyan taunts him with a line. Or, I had a live specific line if I had it, but sometimes they didn't have it. And I said, Chris, I need some banter here. And you're embarrassed now, And so it really was an easy working relationship. And, there was a lot of ad-libbing and fun on the set. And so I got to take advantage of the stuff that works and doesn't work, and the stuff that works makes it. And I had way too much, so I couldn't use it all, but it'll be in the blooper reels, the outtakes.
Oh, that'll be fun. Absolutely, man. And
we got some funny ones. I mean, over the top, like, holy cow. Yeah, there's some good stuff.
Isn't it amazing? I got to know several wrestlers. I used to work in sports radio, and we'd have the wrestlers come and help us out with various charity promotions and stuff. And Bobby the Brain Heenan was one of the funniest people I ever knew, and was so quick with lines. And it sounds like Chris Hahn is a guy like that as
Absolutely.
well, that you can kind of rely on to, come up with something. So that's
Chris says, John, he wrestled as Johnny Paradise and then also as Chris Hahn, but his big shtick was he would talk smack to the audience,
Sure.
He was every woman's dream, every man's nightmare. I mean, so, and the one thing I liked about it is he always made a point to not be R-rated, and see that it's real easy to throw out a swear word at someone or disparage somebody, with a racial thing or any, just anything to call them out for weight, whatever. Chris was always big on trying to insult the audience or get back at them in a way that would get them riled up, but wouldn't embarrass them, would get them involved more, And so he had a real knack for that. I mean, he could throw out those words if you wanted him to, and I really liked that because that was the character, I wanted the character in this film to be the king, he's the king of the cell block, and he beats up people and he works for the warden, does the dirty work, and he might kill people. We might not. I mean, this guy's, he's a bad apple. So the big loudness of it reinforced the character. And it was like, I heard Chris before I wrote the script. So I knew where he was going to be and what he was going to say and how we could make it work. And I thought he'll be a good nemesis for Robert, and then ultimately they could be, a good back and forth team, just battling it out, So I thought it was really going to work well. And, one of the great things is I had a lot of people like, Chris Hahn and Tim Lovelace, who's been in my other movies. I have these people I'd work with, and it's always great because you know what you're going to get, right? You're going to get the goods, but you also know you're going to get something else, and then bringing in people you haven't worked with. So it was really a great back and forth, to work with some of the people I'd worked with before. But Debbie Scaletta was great. Linda Russell, another really good actress. Linda Russell plays Detective Borelli in the film. And Bo Roberts, great actor from Mansfield, plays the Deputy Warden Bright to Debbie Scaletta's warden. And so just bringing in these outside, other talent, along with Lawrence Hilton Jacobs and Nick Turturro, who, Nick comes in and it's just like, I wrote the part, Nick reads it, and I say, so you got any idea what this character is? He goes, I think I got a few ideas. And I'm like, don't tell me, I know what's coming. Let's just have some fun.
Yeah.
And he brought the character, and of course he embellished it. He took my dialogue and he cut a few lines out, but then he added a lot more lines that begin, words that begin with F and different things, But it was great because that's what I wanted. I want the actors to make it their own, because if I'm having fun and I'm seeing things the first time as a director on the set while we're shooting, and it's entertaining me. And I'm like, great, I didn't think of that. That's better. I can use that, you know? So that's all. It's always the fun. I always like, if I'm the first viewer of the movie and I really enjoy it while I'm making it, I always feel if we have fun making it, the audience will have fun watching it.
100%, man. No, I'm so with you. Yeah.
You know, that's always been kind of a goal, is that everybody has fun making it, you know, and we're safe and we do good work, but we have to have fun because, you know, life's too short. You know, I've done a lot of movies that, you know, sometimes they don't go anywhere, you know, and sometimes they make money, sometimes they don't. And it's, you know, it's always sad when it doesn't work out, you know, so you build a family and the family goes away and you see them sometimes you don't. So to me, it's like, it's important to make it that film club, you know?
100%, man. No, this is, I've got a very good buddy that's like a big red box guy, and he always grabs the action movies, the low budget action movies, and we give him the 10-minute rule. And it's like, all right, if it doesn't grab us in 10 minutes, we'll bail and we'll watch something else.
You bail.
And again, I was lucky enough to get this in advance. I know this will be a movie that will pass his 10-minute rule.
Cool.
And especially with people like Turturro and the rest of the cast. I mean, like you said, Bronzy is kind of the invitation to walk in.
Right.
What keeps you there is the story and the cast, and I think you definitely achieve that. So well done as far as that goes. Before we wrap, and forgive me because it is a bit melancholy. I know you worked on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, and we lost Peter Scolari last week.
Yeah,
and I wondered if you had any memories of working with Peter.
Oh, it's just, you know, yeah, I saw that and I'm like, oh man, you know, it's like I hate, sometimes you hate to turn that computer on and get on the news or Facebook, you know, because it's like, you know, it just seems like every other day, every other week. But no, he was great. I mean, I was on that show, and this was back early 90s, you know, and I was directing on an episode. And I got there and the guy, he couldn't have been nicer, you know, and you're always worried when you come onto a show as a director, the show that's been in the works for a while, people don't understand that the directors of those shows, we're sort of like a guest, you know, the show already runs a certain way. It's like, I'm not going to come in there and change how that show runs.
Totally.
It was always tough for me because I'd come in and I'd ask the AD, okay, how does this work? How does he like to work? You know, do they want to do the close-ups first? You know, and Peter would come up to me and he'd give me some pointers. Hey, you know, it's better if you maybe go here or there. And I'm like, thank you. You know, he would always come up and do it. He wouldn't do it in front of everybody. You know, the guy was very respectful and he would come up and I'd ask him something, or he'd come up and he'd give me a little piece of advice. Hey, you know, you're working with the kids and, you know, they kind of they'll vary off, you know, and you can't really get 3 or 4 times, you know, you've got to figure out how to get them in 1 or 2, you know, so he would give me these little pointers. And then of course, when he's on, you know, I just go, hey, you know, I was thinking about this. He goes, oh, you're going to put the camera over there and come around, right? I go, yep. He goes, I know. I mean, he knows it all. So
sure.
It's a pleasure, you know, and especially when you work with people you've watched forever, you know, and you're always hoping you meet these people and they're not going to be, you're not going to get disappointed, or you're not going to feel like they're a diva or whatever. It's, you know, no, he was just a straight guy, man. And he was just so much fun to work with. And, you know, and you leave that and you go, gosh, it's over too quick. You know, I was there 2 weeks, you know, I did my episode and I'm gone, you know, and I'm like, wow, I'd love to come back. But, you know, it's like television, you know, you're a guest, man. And it's like, if there's one wrong move or if it's one person on the crew you didn't get along with, you're probably not coming back, you know, who knows, you know, it's a variety of reasons. But so, yeah, I only got to do 1 episode, but it was great. And everybody on it was very, very cool. And no, it was great. I got to go up there to Canada to shoot, and I had never been working there. So I had the pleasure of going up and working on that. And it was great. Actually, I'm working on that. This dates me, right? So I'm working on that show. And so I'm doing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I'm like the weekend off before I start shooting. And there's a new movie coming out called Boogie Nights. And I'm like, should I go see this? I know what it's about. I wanted to see it, but I'm like, but I'm doing this family show. I should go see this thing. I couldn't stay away because I'm like, oh, Burt Reynolds is in it. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. And I knew it took place, you know, in the 70s and the whole
porn industry
thing.
Yeah.
I had to go see it, you know, and it was just this wonderful character piece. And I came away just loving all the characters in it. And what Paul Thomas Anderson did with it, I'm like, my God, you know, that's brave. How you could pull that off and get us to care about those people. And no, I'm glad I saw it because, and I went to work Monday morning. It's all right. We're having fun. It's balloons and we're doing all this craziness. And no, it didn't stop me from having fun doing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, because it was it was character, and if it was just a sleazy ripoff to whatever, it could have been kind of distasteful and not,
Yeah.
But no, it was great. It didn't stop anything. And I think I talked to one of the ADs on it, and he had seen it too. And we're like, man, that's different content than we're doing here, but it's entertainment, so we're making entertainment.
Great movie, a great ensemble cast, and a great story. I agree with all of that. And it's nice to hear that Scolari was such a good guy because, again, very talented. God, even in and now I'm blanking on the show that he did for HBO.
Oh, you mean
I forget her name now. It was a woman's perspective. It was a comedy, and she played her father.
Oh, yeah, I just blanked on that one. I know which one.
Shame on us. Yeah, shame on us. And really, really great. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, Scolari was just always consistently great. And just like you, likely. I mean, I was a fan since Bosom Buddies, and he was amazing on Newhart. Truly, everything he did. And it was always so cool when Tom Hanks would put him in movies and stuff. And it's like, oh, that's cool. You can tell they're still friends.
Buddies. Well, and Peter, this is what you get. I tell actors, like, watch these people, and you ask yourself, why do you watch them? Why do you like them? Well, when you see Peter Scolari doing his stuff, you like him. He becomes part of the family. It's like Tom Hanks,
Yes.
And it's not Peter Scolari, trying to be, Walt Whitman or whatever, or Peter Scolari's take on that. So you're still getting that, like, it's John Wayne. You're getting John Wayne playing McHugh, getting Tom Hanks playing, Forrest Gump. There's something coming from the person, and once you like these characters and these people, and you invite them into your home as a family member, they deliver constantly quality work. Even if the movie's not a hit or the show's not a hit, they're always good. They're very consistent.
That's cool. Do you see yourself working with Bronzy again?
Well, actually, when we made the deal in the bar, we did a handshake deal for 3 movies.
Oh, great!
And you rest assured, he is contacting me all the time, going, "Hey, come on, what's going on? How come we're not making a movie?" And I said, "Look, we just came out. We're going to do more." But yeah, we got a sequel to this one. We sort of
okay.
I had a sequel before this was finished. A really good idea. So yeah, we're working that way, working my way toward that. So yeah, we'll do at least 2 more. And
that's great. I hope
I want to do a different character with him. But yeah, we're going to do at least one more, a sequel to Death Block. Because it sort of sets itself up to give it. You want more.
Absolutely. No, that's great.
So.
Well, like I said, I hope you're thinking Western, because he's got that great face that I think absolutely,
he does. That would be the different movie than the sequel. But yes, yeah, no, I had a couple ideas, and it's the tough part's going to be like, is it going to be is it going to be Magnificent Seven? Is it going to be Once Upon a Time in the West? I mean, it's like you got to be careful. It's like, how do you do it?
Totally.
How do I get it to be like it's Robert Bronzy Kovacs? Just happens to look like this guy.
You've made a Western, haven't you?
Actually, I produced a Western.
Okay.
I produced a Western. Actually, we shot this movie. We started shooting. We took a break. I went up to Michigan and produced a Western movie. And then I came back, basically took all my money I made on that, as independent filmmakers do, and put it all into the next shoot. So, yes. So, I produced a Western and worked on a bunch of them. I've done some second unit on a Western, a really fun one called Undead or Alive.
Okay.
A zombie. So if you ever get a chance to see that, Glasgow Phillips wrote and directed it. It's a lot of fun. It's a zombie Western, and it was great fun.
That sounds great, man. Well, again, it's out now, everybody. It's Escape from Death Block 13. Robert Bronzy is your lead. You got Nick Turturro. You got Lawrence Silton Jacobs, Chris Hahn. It's a lot of fun, directed by Gary Jones. Gary, thanks a lot. Success. And I hope when the next one is ready, you bug me and we can do this again. I'd love to talk to you more about what you do.
Great. I think I'll be bugging you before it's ready.
Fair enough. It'd be my pleasure. Excellent. Are you, So, I mean, it's had a limited release. Are you doing any festivals or?
No, I thought about doing some festivals, but because, my goal with the movie was get it done and get it out into the market.
Sure.
I didn't see it as a real festival thing. I thought, I could knock around with a festival for a year or two, but my wife is one of the executive producers, and she's like, we'd like to, the river should flow upstream now. We've been spending a lot of money and time. I go, look, we're going to get it done, get it out there, get it into market quickly. Cause we started in 2018 and we sort of missed the 2019 window. And then 2020 just
COVID. Yeah.
It was never really, I didn't see it really as a festival movie so much as it was getting into the market. And 1 week after we were done, I had offers. So it was like, okay, let's go to work, man. And he said, no, we're going to put it out on this date. And I'm like, let's go to work. So
that's great.
Yeah, it came in a couple of months, within 3 months we were out the door. So
that's great, man. Well, it's out there now, everybody. So, check your streamers and your Vudu and Spectrum and DirecTV.
Amazon.
Yep. Very cool. So it's available around right now. Escape from Death Block 13, a great movie from Gary Jones. Thank you, Gary, for talking today. And everybody, thanks a lot for watching.